Hello, this is Angela with Progress Permaculture. I'm at the plant nursery getting ready to pick my daughter up from work, and I thought let's do a quick video and walk around and see what kinds of things are available at the plant nursery that I would recommend for a permaculture garden or a traditional cottage garden in late May, early June. These are things you should be thinking about adding to your garden now if you don't already have them. Many of them will be things that I already have, and some are ones that have been on my list that I am hoping to add. So while I am here snagging her from work, I'm also probably going to pick up a few plants. One of the things I love about our local plant nursery is that they have beautiful demonstration gardens all around the perimeter of the property. Right outside the car, you can see this Masterwort in bloom, as well as London Pride, two early flowering plants that I really enjoy in my garden, and I think are a wonderful addition to a perennial flower border. Monarda, also called bee balm, is just starting to come up here in their demo garden, and I have a video coming out on Monarda next week. Next to it, you can see Baptisia australis. Mine in my garden is also just coming up and not yet flowering. I was really infatuated with these hardy geraniums here. I believe this is Geranium phaeum, which I featured in my recent shade video. This is Axminster Gold, a variegated variety of comfrey in the demo garden, but I couldn't find it for sale or I would have picked it up. Now is a good time to add Sanguisorba hacusanensis to your garden. This variety is called Lilac Squirrel and has stunning blooms. For years, I've been meaning to add some honeysuckles to my garden. They provide such good hummingbird feed for our Anna's hummingbirds, and I haven't gotten around to it, so I may take this one home with me today. In my recent video on edge effect, I talked about those plants that do well in transitional spaces, and Artemisia lactiflora is one of those. It's a beautiful mid-size flowering plant, and it does well in partial shade and can tolerate a range of soils. Speaking of great butterfly food, check out the AGASTACHE, which comes in a broad range of colors. Now, I'm here buying some today because this is a perennial, but it is tender in my climate, and that means if we have a significant cold snap, it may die over the winter and need to be replanted now in late May. Ask any of us who grow crocosmia and we will tell you that you plant this plant once and you'll have it forever. It also multiplies quickly, so it's not really worth purchasing. Just ask in your local gardening groups. Anyone who grows it will have lots of extras to share with you. Another fabulous pollinator attractor is Coreopsis. I have 4 varieties, but I am particularly fond of one called Zagreb. These are wonderful plants that can range from 8 inches to 24 inches in height and provide repeat blooms throughout the season that will bring in all the native bees. While I love the look of Centaurea and it's a classic garden plant, I'm not going to list it here because many of the varieties are invasive in the Pacific Northwest. I know lots of folks already have it in their gardens and the bees do really love it. If you watch my videos, you know that I am a huge fan of the hardy cranesbill geraniums for ground cover in a food forest setting. There are varieties that do well in full sun, partial shade, and even full shade. I need to make a video on propagating hardy geraniums one of these days because they are one of the most satisfying plants to grow in the garden and propagate yourself. They spread very nicely and form a clump, and some of them are repeat bloomers if you cut them back. While hardy geraniums are common in most English cottage gardens, I feel like American gardeners really underappreciate them, and perhaps that's because sometimes they can be difficult to find at plant nurseries. Whenever I find a new variety, I absolutely grab it and put it in my garden. Here you can see some of the ones I got last year that are already filling in as nice ground cover. A plant that is in full bloom right now is AVENS, which comes in shades of coral and pink and yellow and even bright scarlet. It is a wonderful choice for the front of a flower bed in a sunny location for a late May or early June bloomer in my climate. Keep in mind, if you buy it now, it's at the tail end of its blooming, but it will come back year after year and slowly spread. Another shot here of the sanguisorba and the Monarda next to each other that were in the demonstration garden. As I said, I'm going to have a video on Monarda bee balm coming out next week. I think it is a wonderful pollinator attractor, perennial herbaceous flowering plant for a sunny location. Really quickly here, because I've mentioned it in other videos, now is a good time to purchase Verbena bonariensis. I have never seen it at Portland Nursery before, so that was surprising. It is a tall plant for the back of your perennial flower border, and the butterflies love it. Someone asked last week in my local gardening club if it was too late to be planting echinacea. Absolutely not. Get those little starts in the ground right now, and you might even try to get some seeds going in late May and early June. The echinaceas, or coneflowers, will be blooming in late summer and in my climate all the way into autumn. Coneflowers prefer a sunny aspect. They can handle quite a bit of dry weather as well and bloom in late summer, providing those upright, open-faced blossoms that bees really, really love. The longhorn bees and bumblebees in my garden in particular go straight for the coneflowers. Since we're talking about plants that can handle low water conditions, don't forget that late May is a good time to be planting your lavender starts, either ones you purchase at the nursery or ones you have started from cuttings or seed in late winter. Along with the lavenders, I really love germander for a sunny spot. All right, one last plant to share as I'm in the shade house here. The Japanese anemone in May is the perfect time to plant this plant. It will bloom in September and October in my climate. Cannot recommend it strongly enough to get that pop of late summer color and late season pollinator food. All right, so I've snagged Ruth and we're getting ready to head home. I hope you enjoyed this video. There is so much that you can continue to add to your garden through late winter, early spring, and now in late spring as we are getting ready to head into early summer. This next month is a prime time to add all of those late flowering perennials to your garden and some of the mid flowering perennials as well. And sometimes we are thinking about getting those things in the ground this year that we won't enjoy blooms on them until next year. If we want to be increasing the diversity in our garden, if we want to be adding things to our garden that benefit pollinators, that offer a variety of plants that bloom all season long, all the way. I want to have blooms in January if I can with things like my rosemary and crocus. And I want to extend those blooms all the way into October, providing our pollinators and our birds, particularly our local anise hummingbirds, a year's worth of food, a long season, so that they can feel comfortable residing in our gardens. Having those sequential blooms where the display in our garden is changing throughout the year really provides that extra layer of interest that gets us out engaged with the garden. The more visual interest we have, the more likely we are to be outside caring for our kind of more utilitarian plants, our plants that are giving us a harvest of food and fiber and medicine, if we have those plants that are giving us a visual harvest as well. So thank you for watching today. There will be lots more going on in my permaculture garden throughout the rest of May. I have probably videos coming out 5 or 6 times a week, lots happening. But right now we are going to go visit my dad, and I will be back soon. Check out my Patreon down in the description in the interim. Thanks.